Hello, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks for watching TCM, where we've got a double feature of movies starring an actor so good, he's been called by someone who knew of what he speaks, the greatest actor since Marlon Brando. The actor in question is Nicol Williamson, often considered the finest British actor of his generation. We begin tonight with one of his best-known films in the States. Distributed by Universal in 1976, Williamson joins a stunningly accomplished cast in The 7% Solution. Born in Scotland in 1936 and raised in England, Williamson earned dazzling reviews on UK stages throughout the early 1960s before his first two feature film credits, which came in 1968. He earned BAFTA nominations, the British equivalent of the Academy Awards, as Best Actor for both of those films. One of them was Inadmissible Evidence, a screen adaptation of a 1964 play by the great English playwright and later screenwriter John Osborne. Williamson had also played the lead on stage. Osborne described Williamson's audition in his diary. "This pouting, delinquent cherub produced the face to match the torment below the surface," wrote Osborne. "He is much too young for the part, but no matter. He is old within." And it is Osborne who said Williamson was the greatest actor since Marlon Brando. Williamson was regularly described throughout his career as unpredictable. In 1969, he walked out mid-speech during a production of Hamlet on stage. He was too tired to continue. "I'll pay for the seats," he told the audience, "but I won't shortchange you by not giving you my best." Then he left the stage. The New York Times quoted a young actress who worked alongside Williamson in 1965. She described him like this: "Drinking, fighting, and wenching," she said. "God, he's fabulous." Those stories make him sound dashing, charming, romantic, artistically principled even. But there was a downside. Famously, during the Broadway run of the play I Hate Hamlet, Williamson started audibly coaching another cast member about how to duel properly. This was not a rehearsal. This was in front of an audience. Then, according to reports, Williamson ignored the planned choreography and smacked the other actor with the flat blade of the sword. The actor, a good one, Evan Handler, walked off the stage, left the show. Williamson's screen credits include a controversial performance as Hamlet in Tony Richardson's 1969 adaptation. He played Merlin in John Boorman's Excalibur from 1981 and Macbeth on both the stage and television. Here, he's another famous literary figure, Sherlock Holmes, but not in the way most of us are accustomed to seeing him. This adaptation takes Holmes's drug use, which was a recreational hobby in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novels, and turns it into an addiction. The rest of the cast includes Robert Duvall as Watson, Alan Arkin as Dr. Sigmund Freud, and Laurence Olivier as Holmes's nemesis, Professor Moriarty. From 1976, directed by Herbert Ross, also with Vanessa Redgrave, The 7% Solution. In 2012, the Guinness Book of World Records named Sherlock Holmes the most portrayed literary human character in film and television. The fictional consulting detective has been played more than 250 times. Today, Holmes as an occasional neurotic and often troubled detective has become fairly standard, but before Nicol Williamson's portrayal in The 7% Solution, Holmes had been known as a debonair man of sophistication, a reputation due almost entirely to Basil Rathbone's take on the character in 14 movies from 1939 to 1946. Williamson's Holmes has often been overlooked in the larger conversation around definitive performances of the detective, but the New York Times gave the actor credit in 2013 when critic Mike Hale called him the father of modern-day Holmeses. Screenwriter Nicholas Meyer, who adapted his own 1974 novel for the screen, said of The 7% Solution, "It's not a Sherlock Holmes movie. It's a movie about Sherlock Holmes." That difference allowed the writer to play with the character in new ways and to place him in the real world, a choice that, combined with Williamson's funny and manic performance, effectively modernized Sherlock Holmes for generations to come. Coming up, we've got more Nicol Williamson, this time in a 1979 thriller directed by Otto Preminger. The Human Factor is next on TCM. Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks for joining us on TCM for the second of two films starring Scottish actor Nicol Williamson. who English playwright John Osborne called the greatest actor since Marlon Brando. Up next, Williamson stars in a spy thriller directed by Otto Preminger. It's from 1979, The Human Factor. Williamson plays Maurice Castle, a nondescript desk worker for MI6 with a seemingly average suburban life, save for his marriage to a South African woman played by supermodel Iman, and caring for his stepson. His life of domesticity is shaken up when the head of security, played by Richard Attenborough, catches wind of a mole in Castle's department, setting off the spy story you're about to see. When I mention the Marlon Brando comparison or tell you that Nicol Williamson was routinely considered the finest British actor of his generation, I suspect many of you are surprised. There's Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, Anthony Hopkins, Albert Finney, Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, Peter Sellers. I left many out. Thing is, Williamson wanted it that way. After he died in 2011 at 75, the Los Angeles Times quoted him as saying in 1971, when he was just 35, that he was no longer interested in being the greatest actor of my generation and all that jazz. That same year, he recorded and released a country album in Great Britain. Playwright Tom Stoppard adapted The Human Factor from a Graham Greene novel of the same name. Director Otto Preminger had bought the screen rights to the novel, and it became the last film of Preminger's career. Similarly, Williamson had ties to the book. He'd just been on the London stage for a revival of the play Inadmissible Evidence, a performance that critic Michael Owen wrote shell-shocked London theater audiences. The play's writer, John Osborne, recommended Williamson read Greene's novel. Williamson enjoyed it so much that he rationed himself to a few pages a day to draw out the joy of reading it. Naturally, Williamson jumped at the chance to play Maurice Castle, saying he found the character quite likable. He felt playing Castle was so easy that he occasionally thought he wasn't working hard enough. When he expressed these thoughts to Preminger, the director replied, "Are you crazy, man? I thought you were intelligent. Now I see you are stupid." Otto Preminger, making friends to the end. From 1979, also with Derek Jacobi and John Gielgud, The Human Factor. Nicol Williamson endured a turbulent few years leading up to his role in The Human Factor. He'd recently dealt with a messy divorce from American actress Jill Townsend. They married in 1971. The marriage ended 6 years later. When they split, Williamson faced jail time for debts he'd collected during the marriage. In a People magazine article from 1976, Jill Townsend described Williamson as one of nature's aristocrats. Along with champagne and caviar, he had to have a white tablecloth, silver, and wine. Townsend was known as one of the few who could handle Williamson's temperamental behavior. Human Factor director Otto Preminger was another. "They call me Otto the Monster," Preminger told critic Michael Owens in 1979. Unsure why he'd received the nickname, Preminger stated only two things made him mad: late actors and missed lines. After Williamson missed a line filming The Human Factor, Preminger shouted at him. Williamson shouted back that the director's next blow-up at him would be his last. Admitting fault, Preminger told Owens that the two were working smoothly together. He even tolerated Williamson's thick Viennese impersonation of him. As I said before the movie, The Human Factor was the last film of Otto Preminger's storied career.